following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
And I was really surprised to see the likes of Mortis, Disco Inferno, Hugh Morris, and Glacier just sitting in the stands with no match to wrestle at the biggest event in WCW this year. Crazy.
Especially Glacier.
Paul, who's been dancing in front of the Giant and making faces, decides that this is the perfect time to throw his toothpick in Giant's face. And he screams, "Macho!" and starts biting Virgil's ear.
And then he falls through the table, and then they try to sell it. Oh, yeah, he's never the same after that table spot. Oh, you're going to go over it.
Of course I am. You kidding me? Buff comes out and says Luger has a new name. Lex Loser. How about the new SWO? Sting World Order. Shivani and Tenay love it. They want to join. And I said, this is karma, Larry, for being such a referee for Scott Hall and Lex Luger. You deserve every bit of this. I thought there was something wrong with my television.
This is also why they didn't do a Sting entrance, because he got that thing.
Yeah. But let's go back in time to 1997 for a Wrestling Rewind.
The Retro Review.
And this week is Starrcade, brought to us by WCW. And it's the best WCW pay-per-view opening so far. We see Hogan's face being projected on a brick wall and some broken glass and some other shit. Sting's roaming around an abandoned building while there's rain. Then he just jumps down and grabs a bat. And the captions read, "He watches from the shadows. He's witnessed the ruin of an empire. Now he seeks the ruin of one man." Cuts to Washington, D.C., and a bunch of fireworks go off. There's thunder and lightning, banging and clanging. Fireworks explode in the ring. It's a big deal. Dusty, Tony, and Mike Tenay are on commentary. No Bobby Heenan. Tony says we waited a long time for Sting versus Hogan, but not without controversy. He says that over the past 36 hours, the NWO have voiced their displeasure over the assigned referee for the match. Tenay lets us know that the refs' names were all put into a hat, and one of them will be drawn by J.J. Dillon later. Tony points out that there are WCW wrestlers sitting in the crowd in anticipation for the main event. And I was really surprised to see the likes of Mortis, Disco Inferno, Hugh Morris, and Glacier, and Wrath just sitting in the stands with no match to wrestle at the biggest event in WCW this year.
I know, right?
Crazy.
Especially Glacier.
Right.
Didn't he have a spotlight match?
It's also worth noting that Wrath was just sitting right behind Glacier, his blood rival, smiling.
Yeah.
It would have been funny if Wrath was wearing Glacier's helmet.
Right behind him.
Yeah. So Dusty finally says that destiny leads you to a final place, leads you to a big event. Destiny, I'm not going to try the Dusty impression. Destiny has brought Hollywood Hogan here, and Destiny has brought Sting here. Destiny has brought the world all over for this big event. With or without controversy, this is why you put on the tights. This is why you spend hours on the road and train hard. This is what it's all about. What we need to do is tie the horses to this post outside, get on through them swinging doors, because there's a fight about to break out right here at Starrcade. Tony then tells us that Kevin Nash will not be here to face the Giant. So allegedly, Kevin Nash suffered a mild heart attack or had a very serious case of indigestion. Either way, he wasn't medically cleared. It's also worth noting that the Giant didn't want to feud with Nash at this point because of the way it was been built.
Yep.
That's all alleged. Tenay says that the controversy seems to be the backdrop of Starrcade 97. And we start off with Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero for the Cruiserweight Championship. I think we need to take a moment out of respect for how awesome Eddie's WCW theme was.
I did like it, yeah.
Very wrestling. So it starts off with Eddie talking shit to Dean and Dean taking the bait. Eddie uses the ref to distract Dean for an early advantage, but Dean bounces back quick. That's pretty much all Malenko. He's high impact, crisp as ever. Eddie tries to fight back with a springboard Frankensteiner. Malenko counters it with a powerbomb, then picks Eddie's ass up for an Alabama slam. Malenko hits Eddie with a power slam, then Eddie starts to hulk up and wants to fight on his knees. Then he runs out of the ring, on his knees, of course. After a breather outside, Eddie gets one up on Dean by going for his leg. Then he gets some offense in, but Malenko quickly starts fighting back and hangs Eddie on the ropes. Dean launches Eddie in the air and just lets him fall to the mat. Eddie starts begging off Malenko. He starts kissing his boot and then wants to shake hands. Malenko promptly dropkicks Eddie. Eddie was on his knees, by the way. Eddie takes another breather outside the ring, and he does a test of strength with Malenko. Not only did Eddie lose, he got his fingers stomped. And it looks like Eddie's finally going to get some offense, but Malenko launches him up into the turnbuckle again. Then he nails a belly to back suplex, and then Malenko tries to suplex Eddie. And it's blocked. Eddie tries to reverse it with his own suplex, but that's blocked too. Both men struggle for a while, and they're inching closer to the ropes. Dean wins, but his back hits the ropes, and Eddie's able to escape. And then he forces the back of Malenko's neck into the ropes. So now it's all Eddie. Starts working on Malenko's leg, slams Malenko's leg against the steel ring post. Then he drop kicks him against the steps in the ring post that does the sandwich thing. Then they cut to the Ultimo Dragon for some reason. It's good to know that he's watching the match.
I guess that's a tease for the next challenger.
I don't know. They didn't say anything about it. They just cut to him not reacting.
I was actually surprised that there was never like a moment, because I was waiting for it to happen. There's never a moment between Eddie and Rey Mysterio, who was somewhere in the front row.
Apparently, Dean Malenko was not supposed to wrestle this match. He had some other personal obligation, and Rey Mysterio was actually supposed to face Guerrero here. But because of the Nash thing and then the Conan thing, I guess Malenko got fucked.
Fair enough.
So Eddie tries to hit Malenko with a body scissors roll-up thing. Dean blocks it and basically German suplexes him. Malenko hits a fancy-looking spinning backbreaker, but that fucks his knee up too. Both men get in the corner. They fight to the top rope. Looks like Eddie's going to go for a Frankensteiner. Malenko blocks it by just pushing Eddie off in midair, so they both crashed in the mat. Malenko hits a textbook powerbomb that looks like he's going to go for the cloverleaf. Eddie kicks Dean in his bad leg. Then he goes for a baseball slide. Malenko sidesteps it. It sends Eddie to the outside. Eddie shoves his shoulder into Malenko's knee, getting back into the ring. And he does a missile drop kick to the knee from the top rope. Eddie hits Malenko's knee with a frog splash. 1, 2, 3. So this was a good match, but there's I don't know, there's something lacking for me.
That was a good match. I thought it was a creative finish. But why the ref didn't call for a DQ when he was looking right at Eddie Guerrero's drop kick the steps is beyond me. But aside from that, great match, good creative finish.
Well, at least Eddie didn't use a baseball bat.
That's true.
I was expecting this just to be magic, and it was just a good match. Malenko was brilliant. I appreciated how he tried to pin Eddie after everything.
I like the beginning too, where Eddie uses the ref as a shield.
Yeah.
And then attacks.
Very chicken shit. Well, after that, Scott Hall comes to the ring. It's completely unplanned and impromptu. And that can only spell trouble, according to Shivani. Hall says it's great to be in DC over the holiday, and the NWO is happy to be here. But the NWO needs to do a survey to determine if DC is with them or against them. Hall asked the crowd if they came to see WCW. It's a huge cheer. Hall asked if they came to see the NWO. He lets the crowd finish the NWO part, which they did. And it gets a mixed reaction. There's cheers, but there's definitely some boos. Hall says that's one more for the good guys. Shivani says he's 0-3 for the last 3 programs. Hall then says he knows everyone came to see Hollywood beat up Sting, and there's no one more interested in that match than he is, because he has a title shot at Super Brawl. Hall then says the real giant and the one half of the real tag team champions, Kevin Nash, won't be here. Now it's worth noting that Hall and Nash have fake tag title belts for reasons.
Okay.
I don't know why they don't just steal them. That seems to be their thing. Apparently Nash said if anyone has a problem with that, they can meet him down there. And then Hall asks for a referee, then tells the giant to say he won. Then he starts stumbling around the ring like Frankenstein. So the giant comes. I have no idea what that was about.
I think he was mimicking a giant.
He asks for a referee, then he tells the giant to say he won, and then he starts stumbling. Like, what the fuck is all of that about?
Yeah, he's like, come out and just say you won. Let's get it over with. Because Nash wasn't there.
Well, the giant comes out, grabs a microphone, says he's a forgiving man, and can understand why Kevin Nash isn't here tonight. If the giant had to wrestle himself, he'd stay home too. Giant says he's also patient and plans to wrestle for a long time. True that. Sooner or later, Nash is coming back. And when he does, he's catching an ass whooping. Giant says he has one more message for Nash. Hall, who's been dancing in front of Giant and making faces, decides that this is the perfect time to throw his toothpick in Giant's face. Hall then proceeds to throw some really soft-looking punches that Giant easily shrugged off. Giant then gorilla presses Hall, then signals for the choke slam. Looks like Hall's about to go up, but Giant shakes his head, wags a finger, then nails Hall with the jackknife powerbomb. Virgil and Scott Norton come out, take Hall a bit to the back just so they can turn around and have their match. So that happened. I don't know. I don't have anything to add.
It seemed like it was, just filler.
It literally was, because I think that was supposed to be the Kevin Nash Giant match. Obviously, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, up next is the NWO versus Ray Traylor and the Steiner brothers. And the NWO team is Scott Norton and Virgil. And the third man's supposed to be Conan, but the announcer cuts himself off saying Conan's name. So I don't know what that was about. So allegedly, Conan's girlfriend was having medical issues in Mexico. Conan didn't want to leave her, which is understandable.
Yeah, that's fair.
So allegedly, because Conan not being in the match, they had to negotiate with Savage at like the 11th hour. And in order for Savage to do the match, they had to change the finish. So instead of the Steiners and Traylor winning, Savage won with his elbow drop.
That was his negotiation?
Allegedly.
It was good for him to finally get a win, because he's always taking a loss. So, yeah, it was good.
Unless it's DDP.
Yeah.
Well, Scott Steiner got himself a haircut, and he's getting closer and closer to Big Papa Pump.
Yep.
So Macho Man and Scott Steiner start the match, then stall for a long-ass time. They finally lock up, and of course Steiner's is much stronger. Steiner and Savage take turns slapping each other, and Savage whips Scott Steiner into Scott Norton's knee. And Savage tags in Virgil. They start double-teaming Steiner. Norton gets in and just mauls Scott Steiner. And then Savage gets back in, hits a double axe handle. Scott Steiner recovers, hits Savage with a double underhook powerbomb and gorilla press slam. Brawl ensues. The WCW guys and the NWO guys to the floor. Scott Steiner follows Savage to the floor. Miss Elizabeth gets in Steiner's way. He just picks her up and moves her. Savage gets in the ring and tags in Norton, who wants a ready-to-go Scott to tag in Rick. That disappointed me because I wanted to see the two Scotts fight.
The two bricks.
Yeah. So Rick schools Norton with a bunch of tosses and suplexes and tags in Ray Traylor. Traylor shoots off the ropes and hits Norton with a running uppercut. Never seen that before in my life. Norton gets Traylor into the NWO corner, then they just triple team him. And Virgil's tagged in, tries to beat up Traylor, but he gets a spine buster instead. Virgil convulsed good. Traylor beats the shit out of Virgil for a while, tags in Scott Steiner. Scott tosses Virgil around for a little bit, then paintbrushes him and tags in Ray Traylor back in. Traylor whoops on Virgil for a minute, then tags in Rick Steiner. Rick yanks Virgil down by his neck and applies a chokehold. Then he screams, "Macho!" and starts biting Virgil's ear. Traylor gets tagged back in, tries to splash Virgil, and the son of a bitch just moves out of the way. Virgil's able to tag in Scott Norton so he can whoop on Traylor for a little bit. Then he tags Virgil back in for some reason. Proved to be a bad move because Virgil and Traylor's foreheads end up colliding. There's a race for a tag. Traylor gets to Rick Steiner before Virgil can move, so that killed any suspense that race to the tag had. Another brawl ensues, only it's Rick Steiner taking out all NWO guys by himself. Scott Steiner and Ray Traylor come in after Rick slams everybody. Poor Virgil got a Steiner DDT. Norton made the save. Rick and Norton fight to the outside. Savage and Traylor are nowhere to be seen. Scott hits Virgil with a Frankensteiner from the top rope. Savage made the save. And at this point, I'm just like, for the love of God, just let them pin Virgil. He's taken enough. His teammates are doing him no favors by helping. So Scott Steiner Scott Steiner tries to set Savage up for a top rope Frankensteiner. Norton comes up from behind, lifts him up on his shoulders, hits an electric chair. Savage comes in with the elbow. 1, 2, 3. Virgil's sacrifice paid off, I guess.
Yeah.
Always fun watching the Steiners toss people around. Ditto Norton. Definitely didn't expect the NWO to win, especially with Traylor in the match.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a surprise that they won, but it's about time Macho Man gets a win.
Well, Mean Gene Okerlund and JJ Dillon had a segment. Mean Gene wants to know if it's true the WCW wrestlers are in the stands, I think. JJ Dillon says it's true and a tremendous sign of unity. Then lists off all the cool shit that they'll see that brought them here in the first place. And then Dillon says that he drew the name of the referee for Sting versus Hogan in the back while the WCW committee observed. And the name Dillon drew was Nick Patrick. Okerlund says that there's some... Yeah. Okerlund says some people might think that's bullshit. Dillon says Patrick's been on the up and up since he's been reinstated. He's fine. So that's something.
Yeah, he has though been on the up and up.
Yes, yeah. Goldberg versus Mongo McMichael. So we got no elaborate entrance for Goldberg, which was really weird to see or not see. And Goldberg meets Mongo in the entrance ramp. During his entrance, they brawl. Goldberg tosses Mongo in the guardrail, picks him up, and carries him to the ring. They said, well, we've never seen that before. Well, we did. I think it was last Starrcade. He got picked up by that big man. No, it was Super Brawl. Yeah, I think he was wrestling Reggie White, and some big mamma jamma came out, and he was like bigger than the ring. So Goldberg decides to set up a table against the ring post on the floor. Mongo jumps Goldberg, getting back in the ring, hits him with a sidewalk slam. He whips Goldberg into the ropes. Goldberg hits Mongo with a flying shoulder tackle. He throws Mongo out of the ring, tries to slam him into the table outside the ring. Mongo blocks it, tosses Goldberg back into the ring, climbs the top rope for some reason. While Mongo climbs the top ropes, Goldberg gets to his feet. Mongo, having seen Goldberg get to his feet every step of the way, decides to jump on him anyway. Goldberg punches him in the gut. Goldberg does a rolling leg lock thing to Mongo. He whips him into the ropes and then lets him run into him for some reason. And then Goldberg hits the worst spear I've ever seen, sets up the table outside the ring, proceeds to pick Mongo up and attempt to toss him through the table outside like a javelin. The ref, Randy Anderson, stops it. Mongo gets drop kicked out of the ring, then walks over to the side where the table is like a dumbass. Mongo hits Goldberg a couple times with the shoulder gut thing that they do when they get in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Goldberg ends up kneeing Mongo in the face and lands a right hook. Mongo falls off the apron, crashes through the table. They get back in the ring. For some reason, Mongo immediately gets a second wind. And he tries to tombstone Goldberg, but his back's too fucked up after going through the table. Goldberg hits the jackhammer 1, 2, 3. And Goldberg's win streak is extended.
Yeah, that's why going more than 3 minutes is not the best thing to do for a Goldberg match.
I don't know if this was the right opponent to go more than 3 minutes against. I don't
That's
know.
true,
When he
too.
did like that rolling leg lock thing, I think that there was potential. He used to do like suplexes and shit. He just got to a point where he didn't need to do it, so he didn't do it.
No, yeah, he used to wrestle. Yeah, the leg lock, the body scissor thing he used to do. There was some little chain wrestling he would throw out there.
I don't know. If they would have spent a little bit more time polishing him, he may have turned out to be a really good wrestler. He was athletic enough.
Yeah.
He also shouldn't smile. I thought he looked weird.
Who was the face in this whole thing? Wasn't it supposed to be Goldberg?
I think it was supposed to be Goldberg, yeah.
Okay. Such a babyface thing to pull off the table to try to throw your opponent through it in a regular match.
Well, remember last pay-per-view, he was attacked with a lead pipe.
That's true. But it was a regular match. Add a stipulation to it then.
I don't know. Goldberg's hardcore. What do you want me to say?
Yeah. And then, yeah, the table spot.
Yeah.
Just an uppercut. Or not even that. It was just like a forearm
right
shot. And then he falls through the table, and then they try to sell it. Oh, yeah, he's never the same after that table spot.
He's a changed man now.
Yeah.
It's a good thing Deborah left him.
So, yeah, it was just a weird all around, I guess.
Yeah, it was way too long.
Yeah.
So up next is Raven versus Chris Benoit. We learned that Raven has been MIA for 4 weeks. Apparently a match between Raven and Chris Benoit has been scheduled for the past few weeks. Raven has either no-showed or sent a flock member in his place. Naturally, Benoit is anxious to kick Raven's ass. Well, Raven gets to the ring, sits in the corner, grabs a microphone. He says, when I signed a contract with WCW, I stated that I wouldn't conform to their rules, that I wouldn't conform to their corporate structure. I also made sure that certain stipulations were included, that I can wrestle who I want, where I want, when I want. And I've chosen tonight not to wrestle. And I've also decided to allow Saturn to finish off something that should have been finished off a long time ago. The destruction of Chris Benoit. Quote the Raven, nevermore. So Chris Benoit versus Saturn in a Raven's Rules match. Shh, Benoit has the microphone.
Oh, you're going to go over it?
Of course I am. You kidding me?
Fair enough.
So Benoit gets the microphone. All right, Raven. Quote the Crippler. No more. I don't look at reality through any veil, nor do I see the truth through any veil. It is what it is. Things are as they are, and I am who I am. When I rest, I rest in reason. When I move with passion. And there's nothing I feel more passionate about than inflicting pain on the Raven. He did say the Raven. Raven teases going into the ring. Saturn jumps Benoit from behind, and we're off to the races.
So unnecessary that.
Yes. Well, I mean, this whole thing was unnecessary.
And there's a couple of times where he botched his lines.
Oh, yeah. He botched the fuck out of it.
And it just started the sentence over. I was like, get the mic out of that guy's hand.
Although I can't say too much shit because I botch my lines all the time.
Well, if he wasn't trying to say such ridiculous stuff, he can cut promos.
No, he can't. He's good with like one sentence. I'm going to break your neck. That's it. But when he goes into like these long soliloquies, Benoit's not very articulate.
Yeah, when you got him saying, I am who I am, and that's all I can be.
I sleep with reason.
Like, what are you even talking about?
And the best part is Shivani's like, ooh, that was a really good line.
Yeah.
He's mesmerized. He's taking notes. So yeah, Saturn gets the jump, but it doesn't work. Benoit gets Saturn in the corner, delivers a few chops. Saturn tries to get Benoit in a sleeper hold. Benoit just gets him in another corner and chop him some more. Benoit invites Raven to the ring, then spits on him. Benoit goes back to chopping Saturn in the corner. Saturn fights out with a T-bone suplex. He starts hitting Benoit with chops of his own. They trade punches and kicks. Benoit hits a dragon screw leg whip. Kidman climbs the apron so he can get punched in the face. Saturn tries to dump Benoit to the floor. They kind of just tumble onto each other, then pathetically climb out of the ring. Benoit whips Saturn into the guardrail. Sick Boy comes out of the crowd and just takes out Benoit. He just jumped. Got some air. Kidman nails Benoit with a shooting star press from the apron, which was actually really impressive looking. It's like one wrong move and no more Billy Kidman.
Yeah. Very precise he had to be.
Yes. Raven just stands over Benoit. Benoit and Saturn get back to the ring. Saturn hits a neck breaker and a few nothing moves. Then he does a springboard moonsault out of nowhere. It's like, where the fuck did that come from? And Saturn whips Benoit to the rope so he can knee him in the gut. Then he does that a few times until Benoit counters with a roll up. Saturn hits a lariat and locks Benoit in a camel clutch. Then he proceeds to kick Benoit's ass. It's a really nice looking brain buster. Benoit gets a sunset flip, starts making a comeback. Then Saturn rakes his eyes. Saturn hits a Michinoku driver, then signals for the end before going to the top rope. Benoit recovers, climbs the top rope with Saturn. Saturn just gets shoved off. Not very epic looking. Benoit locks in a crippler crossface on the floor. Flock swarms Benoit like they swarmed him. Saturn does a moonsault to the floor, ends up hitting everyone but Benoit. Saturn and Benoit get to the ring. Benoit hits a diving headbutt. The Flock swarm again. Benoit single-handedly fights everybody off. Raven gets in the ring. Benoit snatches him. Van Hammer hits Benoit from behind. And then Raven even flow DDTs him. Saturn locks in the rings of Saturn. Ref calls the match because Benoit is unconscious. Raven just sits in the corner while the Flock celebrate around the lifeless body of Benoit. And Raven kneels over the fallen Benoit and then just steps over him. So it definitely lived up to the hard-hitting affair I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just a Ravens rules match just so they can have the convoluted finish, though.
Yeah, there's no way he was getting out of that.
Right. But definitely not the worst thing on the card.
No, I believe that's coming up.
Oh, it is. Yeah. So up next is Buff Bagwell and Lex Luger. Buff comes out and says Luger has a new name. Lex Loser. Which I think he forgot Hogan called him that a couple pay-per-views ago.
Yeah. Hogan already came up with that one.
Yeah. Well, it starts off with Bagwell needing space.
Like it's that much of a creative thing to come up with anyway.
Right. I like Flexi Lexi myself.
That's a good one.
So yeah, it starts off with Bagwell needing space before getting into the ring. Then they lock up. Of course, Luger's much stronger. Bagwell talks some shit. Luger just spits on him. Bagwell took a back bump from it. They tussle for a little bit. Luger hits a gorilla press slam, then dumps Bagwell out of the ring. Bagwell calls for Virgil for some reason. Like, hasn't he suffered enough already?
I don't know. Him and Scott Hall. They were getting at this pay-per-view.
Well, Virgil comes out fresh as a daisy, saying it's even now because it's 2-on-1. And with Virgil by his side, Bagwell gets back in the ring and starts taking it to Luger. He tosses Luger out of the ring and tries to slam his face into the guardrail. Luger blocks it and sends Bagwell into the ring post. Luger gets Bagwell into the ring and starts kicking his ass. For some reason, Virgil distracted the referee while Luger was working on Bagwell on the ropes. Didn't understand that at all. Luger ends up decking Virgil, of course, and then Bagwell uses the distraction to go for Luger's eyes. Bagwell starts working on Luger, and Virgil chokes Luger on the ropes while Bagwell distracts the ref. See, that's how you distract. How's the guy in the ring going to distract better than the guy outside the ring? So Bagwell just kicks Luger's ass for a while with some help from Virgil. Occasionally, Bagwell would stop to talk shit, slap Luger, and wink at the camera. Then Luger makes a couple attempts to come back. Bagwell cuts him off. After the third or fourth rest hold spot, Luger hits Bagwell with a belly-to-back suplex and finally starts to get a second wind. Luger starts beating the piss out of Bagwell. Virgil gets on the apron, and Luger calmly walks over and decks him. Then goes back to Bagwell. He hits Bagwell with a suplex. Virgil climbs the ropes for some reason. Luger ends up picking up Virgil and tossing him into Bagwell. He whips Virgil into Bagwell, then dumps Virgil out of the ring. Luger signals for the torture rack, but decides Bagwell hasn't had enough. He stomps Bagwell in the corner. The ref physically restrains Luger. Bagwell hits Luger from behind, knocking him into the ref. Luger ends up hitting a power slam. He gets Bagwell in the torture rack, but the ref's out, of course. Savage runs in, kicks Luger in the back. Then he tries to pick Luger up. He can't. Then Luger gorilla press slams Savage, and he gets him in the torture rack. Scott Norton comes out, taps Luger in the shoulder with Rick Steiner's dog collar. Norton drags Bagwell on top of Luger. He revives the ref with a couple slaps to the face. Bagwell gets the 1-2-3. Norton helps Bagwell to the back to get his shit together. Miss Elizabeth comes running out with a concerned look on her face. Can't have a pay-per-view with Miss Elizabeth in it without her running out looking all sad.
Yeah. But I did like how they sold it. It's like, oh, he took the torture rack. Such a devastating move still.
So, yeah, this is about what you would expect. Bagwell was absolutely no match for Luger and needed lots and lots of help to win.
Yep.
Mr. Perfect versus DDP for the United States Championship. And this came about when DDP stole the U.S. title from Perfect during one of his matches. J.J. Dillon made Page give it back, telling him, don't steal it, win it. And DDP is full DDP at this point. He's wearing the jeans. He's doing the unhealing rib gimmick. It's Diamond Dallas Page I remember.
It's about time.
So the match starts with DDP going for an early diamond cutter. Apparently he took Dillon's words to heart. Then they go back and forth. Perfect, of course, is the better wrestler and might even be a little stronger. But Page is working on pure grit. He's able to hold his own. Dusty talks about how Page's ribs won't heal because he's in constant Mortal Kombat. Says champions need to have that quality. Then he says, hey, I just thought of something. How about the new SWO? Sting World Order. Shivani and Tenay love it. They want to join. Meanwhile, Perfect and DDP are going to war. Perfect gets the advantage after a cheap shot, then sends Page out of the ring. Perfect tosses Page in the steel steps, then starts working on DDP's ribs, pulling off the bandage. They get back in the ring, and it's all rib-related offense from Perfect. Perfect walks over DDP, screaming that no one can beat him. He gets DDP in a side headlock and uses the ropes for leverage. And then they cut to Mortis for some reason. If you tell me that Mortis is next in line for the U.S. title, I'm going to slap you.
I can't really say how that one was.
Okay. Page escapes with a jawbreaker, then gets back to his feet swinging. They trade punches. Perfect gets knocked right out of the ring. Page does a crossbody to Perfect on the floor, lands on his feet. Kind of cool. Page tosses Perfect over the guardrail and into the crowd. Then they get back in the ring. Page crotches Perfect on the ring post. Then he goes for a diamond cutter. Perfect holds the ropes, which seems like the only way they know how to counter the diamond cutter. Perfect pins Page with his feet on the ropes for leverage. Page does a couple of roll-ups. Then Perfect goes for a perfect plex. DDP counters with a weird arm breaker. They trade punches again and knock each other on their asses. Both men get to their feet at the same time. Heading whips Page into the ropes. Page grabs Perfect arm, spins himself around Perfect, and hits the diamond cutter 1-2-3. Page celebrates with his new title after the match, and that Lord of the Ring deal that he won last year finally paid off.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that.
And I never in a million years would have thought that Diamond Dallas Page versus Mr. Perfect would be better than Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair.
It's because it had so much gimmick to it. There was a moment where I think it was Perfect who crotched Page on the turnbuckle post.
No, Perfect got crotched.
Oh
He
yeah.
got thrown in the ring, and he does that thing where he sprawls by the post. So then Paige got back out of the ring and pulled him, did the wishbone thing.
Yeah, and then Dusty he was asking Tanae, "What move was that? Was that one of them Hurricane Ranas?" There was that, and then I liked also the finish. I don't know. I just like how he flowed into the diamond cutter.
It looks really weird to me. Because, you see Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero and the Cruiserweights do that move. But then
Yeah.
you see heavy-ass DDP do it, and he just looked all awkward and white and uncoordinated.
That's fair.
I had to rewind it and watch. I mean, it was cool. It wasn't like the worst thing in the world I've ever seen. But it was just really awkward looking to me. I had to rewind it and watch it a couple times.
I think it sells the fact that it can come from anywhere.
True. Absolutely.
Which that's what I like about it.
I just think it was more graceful in DDP's head than what actually happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, they show Eddie Guerrero in the internet position. It was very brief and not a full segment. I don't even know why I wrote it down.
He was saying something about he's the best ever. Can't take the title from him.
Ever. Eric Bischoff versus Larry Zbyszko. This battle for control of WCW Nitro. And Bret Hart is the special guest referee. Bret Hart comes out to the most bootleg Bret Hart theme ever, which fits because he looks like he's wearing whatever he arrived to the arena in.
He's not even trying.
Yeah, Bret's involvement seems to have been an afterthought, which is perhaps the first red flag. Second red flag would be just how little of a deal they made it. Like, this is Bret fucking Hart on WCW programming, and he's treated like just another dude. Vince would have had this motherfucker built up like Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
Then Scott Hall comes out with a microphone. I don't know why he didn't use it. Then Bischoff comes out.
Let's first point out that Bischoff has better entrance music than Bret Hart.
He does, yes.
So let's start there.
Yes. So Eric Bischoff is wearing the patterned standard issued karate tournament shoes. He has the karate gi pants with the belt. And then there's the upper body. He's wearing a leather biker jacket, shirtless, and he has on a backwards snapback cap. Bischoff takes his jacket off when he gets to the ring, and it's the exact opposite of when you see Vince shirtless for the first time.
Yep, just skinny.
Larry comes out in a traditional wrestling gear, so at least he's taking this more seriously than his referee job. Bret checks both competitors for weapons. Bischoff has padded gloves on now. He's really going out of his way to protect the guy that wants to take the nitro away from him. And it starts off with Bischoff landing a couple sissy punches on Larry's forehead. And then he does some more sissy punches, but now he's getting cocky and starts to incorporate little Bruce Lee woos. So he goes, woo, wata! Bischoff does a sissy karate combo, and Larry just absorbs it. And Bischoff takes a moment to consult with Scott Hall on the floor. Hall suggests that Bischoff do a crane kick, like in Karate Kid. I really thought he was going to do that. Bischoff engages Larry again with some more sissy punches. Larry starts bitch slapping Bischoff. Bischoff complains to Bret about Larry slapping him. Bret says, suck it up. Also unenthusiastically asks Larry if he was open-handed slapping Bischoff. Larry shoots for Bischoff's legs. And Bischoff kicks Larry straight in the side of the head. That actually fucks Larry's day up for a little bit. After Bret asks Larry how many fingers he's holding up, Zbyszko just charges at Bischoff in the corner and starts beating him up like he owes money. Zbyszko drags Bischoff down to the mat and starts grinding his face into it. Bret Hart had to get involved. Zbyszko gets a sleeper hold in, and Bret Hart breaks it up, saying that Zbyszko's choking Bischoff. Commentators were pissed at that one. Zbyszko gets Bischoff in a head scissors. Bret breaks that up as well. Zbyszko's livid at this point. He's like, come on! And I said, this is fucking karma, Larry, for being such a shitty referee for Scott Hall and Lex Luger. You deserve every bit of this. Zbyszko gets in Bret's face, starts speaking gibberish. Bret's telling him to do his job, and Zbyszko says, come on, Bret! It's like he had a stroke. Zbyszko scoop slams Bischoff, then gets him Disco Inferno's standing figure 4 leg lock thing. Bischoff gets to the ropes. Zbyszko stomps on Bischoff's leg. Bischoff sold it by falling off the apron, which was a great bump. Larry goes out and throws Bischoff into the ring post. I guess Bret had issues with that too. He told Larry he's been wrestling too long to forget the rules. Larry throws Bischoff into the steel steps and then gets back in the ring to argue with Bret some more. Bischoff limps his way back into the ring. Zbyszko snatches Bischoff and pushes him into the corner. Then he draws back like he's going to fuck Bischoff up. Hart grabs Zbyszko's arm, preventing him from striking Bischoff. Zbyszko does like this weird little dance with Brett, and then he ends up getting kicked in the head again. Bischoff lays into Zbyszko, starts punching, kicking, elbow, stomps. Like he's just going to town. At one point, Bischoff hits Zbyszko and they like both fall over. So then Bischoff gets Zbyszko in the corner and just really starts laying in with some more punches and kicks. Brett allows every bit of it, by the way. Didn't stop at that. So after a long ass time, Bischoff starts to slow down. And then Zbyszko, who's just been cowering in the corner, defenseless, starts to shake it off. Then Zbyszko just kicks Bischoff in the gut, hits a suplex, and then slams Bischoff head first in the turnbuckle. Zbyszko hits a swinging neck breaker and gets Bischoff in the Tree of Woe. Scott Hall gets on the apron. Zbyszko slugs Hall. Brett grabs Zbyszko and restrains him. And then Hall uses the distraction to put a steel plate into one of Bischoff's sissy shoes and gets him out of the Tree of Woe. Bischoff then kicks Zbyszko in the head with the loaded shoe. The steel plate goes flying, probably in the crowd. Then Bischoff starts celebrating and screaming.
Sure.
Yeah. Bischoff starts screaming and celebrating, "I did it." Then Brett slugs Bischoff for some reason. This pisses off Scott Hall, and we see Razor Ramon versus the Hitman again. And it ended up with Hall getting put in the sharpshooter. Zbyszko recovers and starts strangling Bischoff with the karate belt, which was, I guess, fine. And then Zbyszko's pronounced the winner somehow.
With no pin.
I don't even think they rang the bell.
Since there was another bell spot, I can't remember.
Yeah. Maybe they had something here with this one, but this wasn't it.
Yeah. I mean, I like kind of the story they were telling in the match, where Zbyszko would do something and Brett would check him. He put him in the sleeper hold. Oh, no, it's a legal choke and stuff like that.
Brett letting Bischoff get away with it kind of killed that, though.
But it was all set up for that moment where he punched Bischoff, I guess.
Yeah. I like the idea of Bischoff using the rules, so to speak, against Zbyszko. I just think they were trying to tell two stories at once with Brett getting involved.
That's true.
And yeah, ultimately ruined it. I don't think there's a way to save it, being honest. I think it was over the second we saw Bischoff's snapback hat.
We knew he was a karate guy. That was like his thing. That's Eazy-E right there.
Hollywood Hogan versus Sting for the WCW Heavyweight Championship. Michael Buffer, of course, does the announcing. And for Hogan, he just says how famous he is and how strange his opponent Sting is. And he didn't say a damn thing for Sting.
Well, he did.
I don't think he did.
I don't know. He kind of rolled it into the Hogan thing. Basically, Hogan's a household name, but
his opponent's
he's going to be going up against this enigma.
Well, the lights go all the way off, and we're waiting for Sting. Then some weird laser light show plays. I thought there was something wrong with my television.
This is also why they didn't do a Sting entrance.
Yeah.
Because he got that thing.
Yeah. There was also a voiceover. I would guess it was a child. Finally, we see Sting. Actually, now I'm kind of excited. Sting points his bat at Hogan just before getting in the ring. Patrick gets both men in the middle of the ring and starts talking rules. Match starts and Hogan shoves Sting, throws his bandana at him, showing he ain't afraid. Sting just slaps him. They lock up. Hogan gets punched in the face. Hogan wants to do a test of strength and kick Sting when he's not looking. Hogan takes it to Sting with throat strikes, back rakes, and eye pokes. Hogan scoop slams Sting and does the 3 elbow drops. Sting moved out of the way of every one of them. Sting sends Hogan out of the ring. Hogan gets back in the ring only to be sent out again. Hogan yells at a fat fan who tells him, "Fuck you." Hogan yelled at the fans quite often in this match.
Yeah, that's his shtick. And he did the hand kiss thing to someone.
Did you see the fan try to do that to Savage? And Savage wasn't having it?
Yeah.
Loser. So Sting applied a side headlock for a long time. Hogan tries to escape twice and fails. Hogan escapes finally and takes Sting down with a clothesline. He tells the fans to go fuck themselves. Hogan hits a suplex on Sting, then Sting no-sells it and tells Hogan to suck it. Sting gets a few licks in, but Hogan goes for the eyes again. Hogan takes Sting out of the ring and then blatantly uses Sting's bat on him. Sting whips Hogan in the guardrail, then misses the Stinger splash. They get back in the ring. Hogan chokes Sting with his foot. He hits a big boot, hits the leg drop. 1, 2, 3. Then they immediately cut to Bret Hart not allowing the dude to ring the bell for some reason. Hogan's celebrating. The crowd is hella confused. Bret grabs the mic and says, "I said it would never happen again, and it's not going to happen again." What's not going to happen again, Bret? What is happening? Please explain what is happening, Bret. So then Bret accuses Nick Patrick of using a fast count. Patrick says, "No, sir, that was a normal count." I agree with him. Hart just
Yeah, it
slugs
definitely wasn't fast at all.
Hart just slugs Patrick. Patrick flails. Bret grabs Hogan, throws him back in the ring, where Sting starts hulking up. Bret then restarts the match. Bagwell and Norton come out. Sting makes quick work of them. Sting hits 2 stinger splashes, then locks in the sharpshooter. Bret rings the bell. Hogan crawls out of the ring, having been thoroughly fucked out of the title he just successfully defended. Like, Bret said that was not going to happen again, so it's not going to happen again. I'm assuming that's a screw job reference. So it's not going to happen again by him screw jobbing Hogan, because that's what happened.
That's exactly what he did.
Hogan just got screw jobbed.
Yeah. Now, I was looking, maybe he's definitely saying no, but maybe there was a second he said yes.
Well, that doesn't matter. He just beat Sting 1, 2, 3 with a real official. Bret Hart comes in out of nowhere. Says, "I'm the referee now." "No, you don't ring the bell. It's not going to happen again, Hogan."
Yeah, he freaking counted, but he caught the bell from being rang and then restarted the match.
Yeah.
Which, if he restarted the match, we're acknowledging that the match was over. It was weird.
Yeah. And it just, the 1, 2, 3 happened out of nowhere. This is a big boot, leg drop. That's it. So Sting's nothing. Thanks for playing, Sting. Thanks for making us wait a year for that.
I will say, I was surprised. I thought he was either going to do the no-sell spot where he just gets up after the leg drop or kick out, but he did none of those two things. One simple leg drop, and that was it.
Now, allegedly, again, Nick Patrick was supposed to do a fast count, but apparently Hogan got in his ear and manipulated the normal count.
Oh.
For reasons. I guess it makes Hogan look stronger having a shitty match.
He pulled a "that's not going to work for me, brother."
Yeah.
But then they did it anyway. They went with the finish anyway. Oh, he fast counted. No, he didn't.
Oh, that was all part of Hogan's plan. "No, what you're not going to do, brother, is you're not going to fast count. We're just going to continue on like nothing happened." Okay. Well, WCW wrestlers storm the ring and celebrate with Sting. Luger was the first one in. Giant holds up Sting, and then Sting raises the title. Bret Hart helped him steal. Sting shouts "Mamacita" in the camera. Now, there's actually a really cool moment in the background. Duggan's sitting in one corner with the American flag. Bret is sitting in another corner with the Canadian flag. Duggan eventually hops down and walks over to Bret, and they hug.
I didn't see that. I saw Duggan sitting there with the flag, but I didn't see Bret Hart's part.
Yeah, he eventually walked out. It wasn't like a lover's hug or anything. It was more like a, "Hey, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while." It was still a cool little moment because 2 WWF guys.
Yeah.
Shivani ends the broadcast by saying, "For Dusty Rhodes and Mike Tenay, the NWO can bite us." And Starrcade 96 ended with Piper beating Hogan in a non-title match that we learned was a non-title match after the match. Starrcade 97 ended after Hogan won, and then Bret Hart screwed him.
I was excited for it, and then it turned out.
Then the end happened.
But I did like I'll say the Sting presentation was good.
It was great. Everything was great except for that.
Like even the part where, so you got the laser light show with the scorpion, and then you got Sting. He comes to the ring with his music, and then I don't know. They had a shot where you see Hulk Hogan and Sting, like a overlay of Hulk Hogan like pacing back and forth while Sting is walking to the ring, and you see it all. I don't know, but I liked it.
I didn't like the laser light show. I thought that was really cheesy looking, but I did like the rest of the entrance.
It was like a Christmas show. People put in their yards, especially nowadays. Jesus.
Well, the feud between Hollywood Hogan and Sting continued after Starrcade because the outcome of the main event did not occur as planned. Like I said, it was supposed to be a fast count, but for reasons it wasn't. Many former WCW wrestlers who were at Starrcade believe that Hogan, through Eric Bischoff, instructed the referee Nick Patrick to make a regular 3 count to protect himself somehow. and to make Sting and the debuting Bret Hart look weak somehow. I think everybody looked like shit. The following night, a controversial rematch took place in which Patrick again counted 1-2-3 pinfall in Hogan's favor, but saw Sting again defeat Hogan and maintain the championship. So they did the same fucking thing. They didn't learn their goddamn lesson. WCW programming addressed the controversy by showing replays, and then the WCW World Heavyweight Championship was eventually vacated. A rematch was made, and Sting regained the title in a match at Super Brawl 8. Yay.
Which we will see.
We will see. Of course, Bill Goldberg was given a main event push, continue to build the character with the continuation of an undefeated streak. On July 6th, the undefeated Goldberg defeated Hollywood Hogan to win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, which he remained champion until the next Starrcade.
Always Hogan.
Always Hogan.
I was like, I don't remember him always being champion in WCW. Apparently he was.
You don't remember him? Shit. I don't remember him not being champion. I remember Luger winning, and I remember the scene of everybody in the back wiping off the NWO thing, the spray paint.
Mm-hmm.
I also remember Hogan winning it immediately again.
Like, yeah, let's just go and put that back on there.
Yeah, I did it for a day. Same with Sting. I remember Sting had it, and Hogan was still involved in the title picture, and then Goldberg eventually won it. I don't know. I don't remember Goldberg's run. I was kind of fading out of WCW at that point.
I was too.
So Starrcade drew a buy rate of 1.9, the best WCW ever had. And in 1998, WCW expanded with the creation of another television show, WCW Thunder. However, Thunder would not gain the success of WCW Nitro. Nitro was also extended from 2 hours to 3. And in March, the World Wrestling Federation began to fight back. Stone Cold Steve Austin became the top star and eventually helped the WWF outperform WCW the following years. And yeah. And our next WCW pay-per-view is Sold Out, 1998. The main event is Randy Savage versus Lex Luger. We also see Bret Hart versus Ric Flair, so that'll be fun. We have Kevin Nash and the Giant finally. Larry Zbyszko versus Scott Hall.
Oh, of course.
Of course. We have Booker T versus Rick Martel, the model.
What is he even still wrestling for?
I don't know. We have Chris Jericho versus Rey Mysterio Jr. for the Cruiserweight title. And then Chris Benoit will finally get his hands on Raven in a Raven's Rules match. But before that, we have WrestleMania 25. And WrestleMania 25, marketed as the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania. It was held for wrestlers from the promotions of Raw, SmackDown, and ECW. The event took place on April 5th, 2009 at Reliance Stadium in Houston, Texas. It was the second WrestleMania held in Houston. The first one was WrestleMania 17 in the Reliant Astrodome, which was held in 2001. This was also the last WrestleMania to feature the ECW brand. It was the first WrestleMania of the PG era. So no bra and panties matches in this one. 8 matches were held on the event's card. The final match of the night, which was the main event for Raw, it was a singles match between Randy Orton and Triple H for the WWE Championship. The main match for SmackDown was a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship, and that was John Cena versus The Big Show versus Edge. And the main match for the ECW brand was WWE Tag Team Champions, the Colognes, from SmackDown, versus the World Tag Team Champions, John Morrison and The Miz from ECW. It was a lumberjack match to unify the two championships. And the match took place on the event's pre-show. So I have no idea why I wrote that down.
Right.
Other marquee matches were The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in his attempt to extend his undefeated streak. We also had Matt Hardy versus Jeff Hardy in an Extreme Rules match. And then we had Chris Jericho facing the team of Roddy Piper, Ricky Steamboat, and Jimmy Snuka. And of course, we have the annual Money in the Bank ladder match.
I don't remember who wins this one.
I believe it's CM Punk.
Oh, there you go.
He won 2 years in a row.
Good for him.
That's all I got.
And that was the retro review.
Whoop, whoop.
I think we'll call it there. We got some good stuff this show. This is a good show. This is a good show. But on that note, as always, if you agree with anything, let us know in the comments below. If you disagree with anything, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, follow us on all the social medias. And until next time,